Welcome to the Sales to CEO podcast. This is your host, Louie Herron. This is the only automotive podcast that shows you how to go to the next level. It is my mission to coach and inspire and motivate you to go from sales to dealer principal or any level you desire. Stop making excuses and start making adjustments towards your future that you want. Today, we're talking about the importance of the proper vehicle selection. What's up, guys? Louie Herron, Sales to CEO. Listen, Sales to CEO is probably the only automotive content and information in the marketplace that shows you how to go to the next level. Whether you want to be a sales manager, you want to be an F&I manager, you want to be a general sales manager, GM, dealer principal, this is the place you're at the right spot. So I'm excited to bring to you what would seem to be just kind of like, man, we're in this basic fundamental stage. And we're not talking about buying real estate or maybe a reinsurance company or how to prospect to find a dealership to buy one and do all the due diligence and all the things that entail like the later part of the game as you grow in the automotive industry. We're talking about selling a car, and we're actually talking about the importance of the proper vehicle selection. So we're going to cover that information today. And again, whether you're doing this 2 years or 15 years, you're going to learn something new. And I think it's important that we all understand that we've got to work on our skill sets and our mindset. But in the automotive business, the two most powerful things you have is the skills you possess and the mindset that you bring to the table every single day. This business will wear you down. You guys that have been doing it for a while, you understand and you know that every day's a grind. There is no halftime. There are no days off. There is no off season. It's not like a sport. It's 24/7, 365. It will take everything you give it and still ask you for more. So it's one of the most unique businesses, but the nice part about the car industry is it's very fruitful. And if you can learn your craft and you can master your craft and be exceptional at what you do, you can really produce phenomenal things. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the proper selection of a vehicle. Now, this is typically the third step in the equation after you've meet and greet somebody. And we've talked about that in other episodes on how to properly do that. And you've heard me talk about needs assessment and the value of the needs assessment. And that's critical. We're at that point where we've taken the needs assessment and we're really dissecting. Now we've got to find the right car. So it's important for us to really understand exactly what it is we're trying to accomplish in this part of the equation. So again, finding the right car is probably the most critical thing twofold. Number one, to maximize the gross profit of the deal. And whether you realize it or not, you've got to take personal inventory and accept the fact that you're valuable and you're worth the money, right? The manufacturer prices the cars, you don't. And your job is to maximize the gross profit and the margins on the deal so you can feed your family and do what you need to do, but only if you've earned the right to do so. Like if you're not a professional and you don't know your product and you haven't given value, obviously you haven't earned the commission. You haven't earned the gross profit. If you think about a car dealership, when we're talking about earning value, the player on the field that's giving the least amount of value gets cut the fastest, right? So I think sometimes when you're thinking about selling a car, I think we focus too much on what am I getting instead of what we're actually giving to the customer, right? It's the old adage that if you've read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, the bucket filling, right? You're filling someone's bucket, right? But then consequently, you're filling your own in the process, but you're giving, right? So you want to make sure that you're constantly bringing value to the customer and really putting them on the right car based on the needs assessment that you've already done before we select this automobile, before we actually get the car, and pull up a couple of options for them. If you've done your job properly and done a proper needs assessment, you should be on the right track doing the right thing. So we're talking about making sure we're on the right vehicle. So the most critical thing I will tell you is you really have to touch the desk. Now, those that have been selling for 5 years or 10 years, I know you think you're a pro, and I know you don't think you have to touch the desk, and I know you don't think you need manager involvement, but you're only killing yourself if you don't. Always get the desk involved. The desk has things going on a daily basis that you're unaware of. You have no idea the deals will take. You have no idea the aged inventory unless they've told you about the aged inventory. You have no idea what the goals and what their focus is to make sure they're liquidating what they need to liquidate and the goals that they have to get accomplished as well. And when we talk about the Sales to CEO program, sales manager to GM, we're talking about all of those items, the things behind the scenes that really general managers look at. The general managers push those things upon the sales managers on a daily basis. And as a salesperson, you have no idea. So it's important to constantly touch the desk. Now, when you come to the desk, the needs assessment has been properly filled out. Hopefully, you've already had an EMI, an early manager intro. They've hopefully taken the price off of your shoulders, identifying who's going to handle the pricing, right? The manager's going to do that. Hopefully you've gotten that EMI. Hopefully you've grabbed the keys to do an early appraisal to speed up the process. And again, in other episodes, you'll get caught up on the needs assessment where we do all that properly. Let's assume all of that's complete. You're in the sales office now and you're touching the desk. At this point, your job is to make sure you relay to the sales manager every piece of content and information about that car transaction. You should know everything. All of these answers the consumers have shared with you, all the dialogue, all the relationship you've built now needs to be relayed to the manager. At that time, the manager is going to help you select the right car. So we have a needs assessment form. Every dealership has one, right? And if you don't have one, I've got one that we can create. You can have it right here and download it, but you're going to have that fully complete. Every blank on a needs assessment should be filled. If there's a blank, fill it out, and it should cover every piece of information to give you exactly what you need to locate the right car. So the needs assessment is critical. We touch the desk. As we're touching the desk and explaining to the sales manager every piece of that deal, at that moment, he's going to give you a couple of choices. Now, if he doesn't give you a couple of choices, I would ask you as the sales representative, give me a couple of alternatives, and there's a reason for that. Most salespeople, when they go to show a car, they're really just going out showing one car. And the problem with that is it's almost like going through Chick-fil-A or going through McDonald's, right? You look at a menu board, there's number 1s and 3s and 4s, and you have options. People love options. Consumers love options. The reason why I want you to give an option is primarily for the financial concern only. Okay, let me go through this with you because it's critical. You're at the desk. He gives you a couple of different options. You finally have the two choices. And let's just say hypothetically, you're at a Honda dealership and he gives you a Honda Accord LX and he also gives you a Honda Accord EX. And the consumer's got a budget of, let's say, $450 a month is what they share with you. Now, you're outside, you're walking with the consumer. This is the time where you look at the customer and you say, Mr. Customer, if you're like most of my customers, saving money is very important. I'm sure you're no different. Would you mind if I showed you an option that could save you $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $60 to $90 in monthly payment? That's the question. And if you don't do this like clockwork, every single customer, you're leaving money and potentially deals on the table. Let me go through it one more time. It's super, super critical. Mr. Customer, we're looking at the LX. If you're like most of my customers and saving money is important to you, would you mind if I share with you an option that will save you $2,000 to $3,000 or maybe $60 to $90 in monthly payment? Now, whether the consumer says, sure, what are you thinking? Or to me, it doesn't matter what the customer says. What I'm trying to isolate is I've thrown out a dollar savings and I've thrown out saving money and I've thrown it out early in the deal. Understand the psychology of what I'm doing here. I'm already thinking about the close in the write-up 30 minutes from now. Okay, because what happens is we get in the deal and the customer says the payment's too high, and then you're working the deal, and then finally after 40 minutes of negotiating, you go to the sales manager, he says, hey, you're gonna have to switch this guy on a car. Now, at that point, you've already spent 2 hours with the consumer, and now you're told to go switch a car. Now, we do this all the time in the car business. You already know that. The problem with it, though, is if you don't lead up to it and you don't set the stage, it's going to be a hard conversion to switch. Plus, people get tired, they're worn out, and it stops the flow of the deal, right? So let's back up. We're in the selection process. I've got an EX, Honda Accord EX, and LX in my hand. We're looking at this EX, and we know that I can save them money, $2,000 to $3,000, $60 to $90 in monthly payment. How did I come up with those figures? For every $1,000, $20. $2,000 to $3,000, $60 to $90. I can save them. Now, if they say, sure, what are you thinking? Well, I'm thinking of a vehicle similar to the EX model. You're just going to do without the sunroof, without the navigation, and the wheel package is a little different. But from a safety perspective, it's almost identical car. The consumer may say at that point, oh, no, I want the EX. I got to have the sunroof, and I want the leather. Perfect, no problem. Now, once they suggest to me they're okay with the EX, I may say, well, let me ask you this question. If you're comfortable with the EX, if we went up $1,500 or $2,000, it'd be another $40 in monthly payment. We can go to the EXL and we can add leather to that. Would you be open to that and pay a little more? No, I'll take the EX model. All I'm doing is I'm solidifying what car we're selecting and what the monies are going to be. I hope you're tracking with me on that. That's all I want to do. I want to make sure that we're showing a model up and a model down, okay? And I want to show the money. Let me reiterate, that's all we're trying to do is we're trying to solidify the car that we're getting ready to demonstrate and present to the consumer, okay? So let me tell you, once you've done that and you've selected the right car, here's what I don't want you to do. when you're in the needs assessment and you've discovered with the consumer that they want to pay $400 a month, and we're on an EX model vehicle, and that EX model vehicle is $32,000, and you may realize, man, 400 is going to be tough to get to. I don't want you to worry at this point where you're at. Your job is to show the car and get ready to do $1 million presentation and demonstrate that vehicle. Your job is to get them excited and sell them the vehicle, the options and features, and show them the value. Consumers have already set aside a budget they want to pay, and they've already got an up to number in their head. They all know that they're willing to pay a little bit more times than not, based on what they're currently driving. And most consumers come in the dealership paying $350 a month, and they're willing to go up $50 or $70 or $100, but they got to see the value in that, or they're not going to do it. So I don't want you to ever, through the process, stop. I don't want you to think you're wasting your time. You thinking you're wasting your time is a deal killer, right? You have to make sure your goal, your primary focus, is to make certain that you're trying to get them to the next level. I've said this before, and I'll say it over and over and over. I'm a football guy. You got to forgive me. Look, we're trying to move the football down the field. We're trying to play offense, not defense. We've got 4 plays to get 10 yards. We get a first down, and we're trying to get another set of downs. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to advance this ball to get in field goal range to hopefully ultimately score, which is scoring is getting in the end zone, and that's making a sale. That's what we're trying to do. If you stop the process at any given time, you stop the momentum at any given time, you stop your sale. So a couple things to remember, right? We're gonna back up. We're gonna touch the desk. Hopefully we've taken price off our shoulders. We're going to give the desk all the information on the needs assessment. After we give them everything they need on the needs assessment, we're going to ask them to give us a selection of vehicles, and we're going to ask for more than one, because your job is to show model up and model down. $2,000 to $3,000, $60 to $90 in payment, and it doesn't matter which way they go. I don't care if they say yes, if they say no, it doesn't matter. We want to make sure we're on the right car. Remember, if we're in the close and we do have to switch, we'll have a point of reference in that close to talk about. Earlier when we spoke, John, Mr. Customer, when we spoke earlier, I showed you some alternatives that could save $2,000 to $3,000. We can do that now. We can actually, if you're willing to, we can actually do without the leather and navigation and be exactly where you want to be. There's more credibility in the close when you've already suggested early in the process versus late. Now they feel like they're being switched and manipulated and put into a different situation because they weren't prepped. So remember, you're always going to show model up, model down. So remember these 3 key things that I want you to understand: attitude, energy, and your goal. Attitude, energy, your goal. When you're in the selling process, remember, the attitude you have is going to carry you as far as you need it to go. You're going to have that attitude amped up and ready to go. Remember something: if you only talk to 2 or 3 customers live, face-to-face, every single day, that means in a 10 to 12-hour workday, you literally have to be turned on with your best Mel Gibson. It's 3 times a day. You've got to get yourself ready to go. When you're in front of that client, you're sharp, you're professional, you're an expert. You know everything about the product that you need to know, and your energy level's high. Remember, the goal is to get to the next level in every part of the phase of the game. Everything we're doing is trying to get one step closer to a sale. So keep these things in mind. When we're talking about a proper selection, again, it's all about the needs assessment. It's all about touching the desk. It's all about model up, model down. That selection of automobile is the key to whether we make a deal or we make some actual gross profit to feed our families. Remember, this is the Sales to CEO podcast. Let's make sure we stay on point with what we need to do and make sure that we're constantly moving forward in the right direction. This is Louie Herron, and I'll see you on the next episode of Sales to CEO. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Sales to CEO podcast. Look, real simple, do me a big favor. Number 1, I'm totally grateful you took the time to listen, but share this, like, subscribe. This is how we build our network of growing people in the car industry to the next level. Again, like or share or subscribe right now. Until the next one, great selling, and let's go to the next level.